Have you ever felt like no matter how much theory you studied, it all ends up feeling quite pointless because your opponents never play mainline openings? When I was starting out, one of my strong points was following concrete lines that I knew, but whenever someone was deviating by playing a bad move, it was simply throwing me off and I was struggling to come up with a plan and adjust against various setups that are never really mentioned in the opening books and videos. For me at the time, this was a big wall, affecting both my results rating-wise and also having quite a dramatic impact when it came to my motivation. Because let's be honest, one of the most frustrating things is learning opening theory and watching model games for hours. But when you get to play your own games, it's like you get a completely new position and you're basically on your own. And let's just say it usually does not end very well. Now, when I was a kid, there were barely any YouTubers, but one day I was lucky enough to find a video of Grandmaster Eric Hansen playing and explaining his moves, which at the time was really something that was revolutionary for my chess. Being able to watch a strong player explaining his thought process in completely new position, how he's able to create plans and adjust to various weird setups that his opponents were making had a pretty big impact in my chess development. So in this video, I'm gonna be trying to do something similar, highlighting important themes such as how I calculate concrete lines, how to come up with a plan in a completely new position, and also how to punish positional mistakes by your opponents. So I'm gonna be walking you through 3 games played against opponents that are roughly around 1900, and at the end of the video, you'll get to see the deadly pawn cube in action. So stay tuned for that and hope you enjoy the games. Okay, we're getting a 5 minutes game, so no increment this time. Gotta pay attention to that. And we're facing one e4. Gonna be trying out the Caro-Kann, and it looks like we're running against the 2 knights. And one of my favorite moves in this position is g6. Trying to get back into some kind of groove. Needs where the white knight is already placed on f3, stopping the f4 lines. But I think for the sake of simplicity, we're gonna be going for knight f6, which is the the move that's mainly trying to get back into the Tartakower structure, which is definitely fine if you know it properly. The main theoretical test will be if white goes for the kind of odd queen e2 move. That is best by test. Now, the early move fighting for an advantage. Knight takes on f6, it's completely harmless for black, and knight g3 also not known to pose any problems objectively speaking. And against this particular setup, I really like to go for the fianchetto. It is definitely not a must. You can also go for moves such as h5 or e6 or even bishop g4 may be reasonable, but against the knight on g2, I really like this move that's restricting the knight, and we're gonna be getting pretty easy play, as you will see. We have a very simple plan. Idea is to get bishop g4 next. In case of h3, I think we just switch to something like c5 and just get this. In case of h3, we always take, and we have one simple plan. We need to break with e5. So knight goes to d7. e5 is planned on the next move. So even against something like bishop f4, could either strike for e5 immediately, taking advantage of the king that's still in the middle, or could prepare with rook e8. Also had knight d5, interesting move against bishop f4, and now we simply get in our pawn break, threatening to take, which will be creating an isolated pawn for white, which is definitely something that later on in the game could become a weakness that we could play for. Or the e5, knight e5 is actually not only winning the bishop pair back, but simply winning a piece, because they would be attacking the bishop way too many times. So see bishop g5 instead. Definitely pretty standard. I could start with h6 right away, just challenging the bishop. ed4 is a move. I don't think we need to be afraid of any like knight e4 kind of ideas. I feel like we definitely have enough protection over that f6 knight. I'm still kind of double checking though, but I think ed4, knight e4, I think a strong move there would have been knight e5, because he's gonna take on f6 twice, but we end up taking the bishop on d3, and I think we definitely should be all right. And in this position, I have a feeling queen a5 is a pretty strong move. Unpinning and hitting the enemy bishop. Queen b6 could also be a thing. Unpinning and hitting d4 and b2 in the same time. I think I'm just gonna go queen a5 since it's a little bit more active, it seems. And yeah, we'll see. Bishop f4 is probably gonna play. Bishop e3 quite likely as well. After that, definitely considering rook fe8 or rook ad8 as very natural moves to play. Probably we'll start with rook fe8, just, maybe knight d5, putting some pressure on the e3 bishop. This rook would very well come here. Rooks are generally going on to the central files. And I think it may be a good position already to start with knight e5, playing a little bit more aggressive. Yes, rook d8 would have been a very playable alternative, just trying to bring more pieces into the game. But I definitely feel like we could start by putting some pressure on e3. Okay, this move is a little bit tricky. Keeping an eye on f7. Could just play the move knight f6 though and annihilate that pressure. Let's see, will he go back with the bishop to g5? I kind of doubt it. So a3, I could definitely take, pawn takes, and then queen g5 looks pretty interesting. I guess forcing e4. I'm not sure that's such a good position for us though. Trying to think. Knight e3, queen g5, e4. The only thing that's kind of bothering me is that he can play b4 next, so maybe we'll start it like this. So we take once. Kind of struggling to make up my mind against this. I think we're gonna do what I initially wanted. Not sure it's like objectively best, but should be reasonable. Just gonna bring the rook over. It definitely feels like f7 is a little bit soft, but not afraid of e4, e5 since knight d5 is always a move. Now against b4, I'm planning to swing the queen over. g5 feels like a pretty decent square to me. Also could just go for the, let's say, safer queen c7, but I feel like, why not just be a little bit more aggressive instead. And maybe I'm going to play knight d5 actually. Or the next move in case he doesn't go for e4. Okay, plays rook e1 simply. Now, can I just go knight e5, e4, some kind of knight f4 move? I think I like that. Hitting e3. Oh, by the way, e4 doesn't really work because of bishop takes on d4. So I think he's in some trouble now. e3 does not seem easy to protect. And bishop takes on d5. I even have interesting move to take with a pawn, fixing the weak spot. Taking with the rook should be, I think, clearly best. Taking with the queen also, not terrible. Tough decision. I think I'm just gonna go for the pawn takes, also opening up the c file for him. Yeah, I'm gonna go for the endgame. Not sure it's the strongest, but okay, now we'll just have to speed up a little bit because I don't have that much time. Definitely 30 seconds, not a lot of time in this position. That's not very clear. Definitely it's easy to play now, but still it will require some work. Okay, just double up and knight f4, queen d6. Had in mind. Also planning bishop h6 to get rid of the knight. Oh, by the way, maybe bishop takes on d4 was working. Nah, not really. I mean, just rook d4. I don't know what I'm saying. This is a move, so expecting g3 perhaps. Okay, let's activate. For sure, the position is very pleasant and much better, but not very easy to convert, to say. Okay, let's shuffle a little bit. I need like a second weakness, so a5 should definitely be played at some point. What is he doing? That's not, he's not supposed to break with g4 if that's what he's trying to do. Oh, he did it. That's like just suicide. Rook f8 and win the queen next. I didn't even have to create the second weakness because he created it himself. Rook f8, knight f4, rook takes on f4. Pretty simple win. Now I will have queen and bishop for 2 rooks. And time situation has improved a little bit. This is fine. Don't mind the check, king g6 simply. And I think this is a nice trick to get into winning endgame. Just bring the king. And yeah, I'm like 2 pawns up and should be an easy win. So pay attention to what I did here at the end because these kind of tricks are really gonna decrease your rate of missing winning positions. So obviously I could go queen c1, maybe pick up that pawn and keep the queen, play the materialistic approach, but always doing these kind of things where you sacrifice your material just to get a very easy and straightforward game like this should be by far the best way to convert. So keep an eye on these. And yeah, not really that much to say. I think I definitely had a very pleasant position from the opening, and we can also like have a quick game review if you guys like really are into that. Here's like what score we'll get for this one. So yeah, we get a 90, no brilliant moves, pretty clean overall. I didn't play anything risky. He missed queen takes on f7. I don't think there was anything missed, to be honest. Yeah, like he never had any queen f7 move, so that's not a thing, like never. And I fixed his pawn with f5. I should be much better. It's just that at some point, you know, we have pressure, but I think at some point we need to create a second weakness with a5. That should be like the easy way to do so. I had only 30 seconds, so didn't have much time to create a plan in order to do that. But I try to improve here little by little. And okay, g4, it's like clear suicide. Queen f7 here. It's a move, but I can block with a bishop or go king aj. That's is not really doing much, and the rook is covered and threatening rook f8. So he took. Now this is just winning the queen. I think what I did was cleanest. Bishop f4 allows queen e4 and it gets messy. So the rest should be pretty easy. So if he was not playing g4, which is obviously the losing mistake, let's say he plays something normal, yeah, like rook d1, then I think the idea is to maybe not immediately, but at some point go for this. And then like rook a8. Try to win these, and he's gonna have two weak pawns that we can try attacking. I'm not saying this would have been working like so good here, but this is sort of how you want to be making progress in general, because only one weakness is not gonna be enough. But we got a very easy opening. Remember this idea, g6 against the knight g3. This works against the two knights, works also in the classical line. If they play knight g3 here, you've probably seen me earlier in the rating climb going for g6, so this is a pretty easy and straightforward way to deal with it. So, okay, with that being said, I think we can go for the next game. Alright, getting a new game, facing a 1950 opponent, so I'm gonna be sticking to solid play, going for the Caro-Kann, and we see the f4 approach, which is usually leading to these kind of Grand Prix attack type of positions, and I'm just gonna be playing c5. Now, when they do this kind of stuff, it's sort of, a little bit similar to the advance as well, so you're pretty used by now with this c5, knight c6 kind of development, and the opponent going for an early bishop b5, which is interesting. I'm very tempted to just play the move bishop g4, and in case of h3 to give up the bishop pair and play e6. Okay, so he takes first. Doubling my pawns is definitely a standard idea, but I don't think should be that problematic. I think the typical way to continue is just e6, opening up bishop's path and preparing knight e7 to f5. I could start off by going h5 as well, but I think just gonna keep it super simple here. Knight e7, getting it to f5. Whenever they do this, we kind of have to give up the bishop, but it's fine. He gave up his bishop, we give up ours, but we have very good control over the center. Now, I think knight f5 is a good move. Not afraid of g4 because knight d4 looks pretty tempting. And okay, after they play c3, g4 could be a little bit annoying. I'm pretty sure we could still play bishop e7 and just be completely fine. Like g4, knight h4 should be good for us because his king is quite weak. So I'm just gonna go for that. Yeah, hit the queen. Now an idea that we could be going for is h5, using this g4 pawn as a hook and trying to open up the file for an attack. Now, I want to kind of consider at least f5, even though I have a feeling it's not a great move. We need to pay a little bit of attention to that because he's threatening something like fe, fe, and then like queen f7 check. But I mean king d7, and generally a queen is not enough to deliver checkmate. So I think here we are in time with taking. Simply takes, and now if I'm like, really afraid, I could even play king d7. I actually don't think that's a bad move at all. He might end up playing it. Look at this. I think this is beautiful. And it looks stupid, but it's actually really nice prophylactic move and also attacking because it's making room for the queen to join, and opponent still has to finish development while I'm almost checkmating him. So this definitely looks very nice, at least now. I could think of playing g5, trying to support that knight. I think the knight is protected well enough, and I'm just gonna be going for the queen maneuver. I think bringing the queen over is definitely crucial when it comes to checkmating him. So just gonna stick to the plan. Now we get another very juicy square, preparing potentially knight f5 in the future. So let's see. The only kind of defensive resource that he will have is queen g2. But I don't think that should last for very long. Bishop d2. Now, to be fair, I think this move should just be crashing because when we're trying to checkmate, it's really important to cut down this file. So I think rook f8 was pretty strong. And now, time to find the final blow. I'm pretty sure knight f3, rook takes on f3, queen h1, king f2, rook h2, king e3, and then there should be some kind of forced mate. So the thing about that variation, why it's so safe to play, it's rook f3, queen h1, king f2. I can, at the very least, go queen takes on a1 and just pick up the exchange. So for this reason, I think it doesn't even make that much sense to try to calculate it until the mate. When you have something like so easy that you can play. Also, I can do rook f3 if I want, and then queen h2, queen d2, but that's less strong, I feel like. Okay, so there is rook f3, queen f3, rook h2, king g3, rook h3 wins. And then on king e3, there is bishop takes g5. That seems checkmate. So it might be even better to start it this way. Yeah, just play it for the mate and not try to actually win his rook. Just rook h2 and king g3 we pick up the queen, and king e3 there's g5 because bishop's no longer covering. Now only move for him would be queen f4, but we should have some kind of mate. Yeah, so queen f4 happens. What is the most precise? I mean, probably just take the queen and rook f2. Then bring the queen over. Yeah, queen f3 is going to be checkmate. So, managed to get the game. I think the hardest move of this game was finding that kind of king d7 concept. But once you realize the queen is able to switch over the king side, I feel like it definitely makes a lot of sense. So let's see what computer thinks about this game. So you're running a quick game review. We actually got only an 88, which is somewhat surprising. Definitely felt a bit better than that, but curious what was the brilliant move according to the computer. Okay, so knight f3 was the brilliant move. And apparently the computer is marking king d7 as a mistake. The computer says, okay, it's a weaker engine, so maybe my move might be better. Just saying, but computer recommends queen d7 and long castle simply. And the idea is clearly to meet fe with queen takes. That would have been actually easier, but I don't think there is anything wrong with king d7. And this is still like a -2 position, so perhaps, yeah, king d7 a little bit unnecessary now if we're looking at it, but it definitely felt pretty straightforward. The problem with queen d7 was that I definitely didn't see how we would bring the queen into the attack, so I just like this king d7 more because it was just like so easy for us to bring the queen over. And yeah, knight f3 was already working, and yeah, this is just like very easy and straightforward win. Bishop g5, and taking was good enough with checkmate. Prefer the bone cloud anyway. It was not a bone cloud, okay, it was like a serious move. But that's funny. You guys can be funny sometimes. Not very often, but sometimes. I'll give you that. Yo! Mr. Birdfish, how are you, Scott? Nice to see you. Oh, the ratings increasing. Opponent opening up with e4. Little does he know that we're gonna be playing the rock solid Caro-Kann, and against knight d2 or knight c3, we're gonna be taking and simply trying to go for this Tartakower structure, taking with a pawn. And most of them are gonna still play knight f3, I think below even 2200. Maybe at 23, you will start facing the, let's say, more critical approach, and the flexible c3, which is intending to play for long castle type of ideas. But I think below 2200, you're gonna face like knight f3, like really in most of your games. And now you can really split this in two main parts. So it's either aligns with bishop e2 or without bishop e2. So when they play bishop e2, the thing that you need to remember is that bishop g4 is no longer that strong because it's not a pin. And when they play with bishop d3 or bishop c4, which is more common, then once you get castle, bishop g4 is very annoying for them. So I'm gonna do exactly that. Go for the pin. On h3 in the Tartakower, we always keep the pin. There is no like no case when we take. The only position where we take is if white is forced to take with the g-pawn, and that's usually strategically winning for us if we can mess up their structure around the king. So I'll start with rook e8. It's a little bit more accurate because on rook e1 now we can take and then mess up their structure. And whenever they do g4, we're quite happy to see this because it's generally just overextending. White should not be getting any kind of attack or whatever. So yeah, we get into the pawn cube, which is even nicer. If you are a regular viewer, by this time you already know that the pawn cube is a win by force. And opponent's going for some cheap trick, threatening queen g6. I could definitely play the standard knight f8. I'm also considering b5, bishop b3, knight c5. Could be pretty strong. So I just want to show this idea. I think it's pretty nice. It's a typical one and may take by surprise a lot of people. We're hitting the queen and I'm going to be like, oh no, my knight. My knight is hanging. Oh no. He can also go queen g6. Wow. That's terrifying. Let's see what opponent has in mind. Okay, he just goes queen c2. So he spots the main idea. So the main idea is that I saw the computer loves this idea in general. dc5, there is bishop h2. And we pick up his queen. And now after queen c2, not only that we can take the bishop, but we can also play for like an active knight with knight e4. Not super sure what happens in case of f3. Like there is knight g3, queen g6, and maybe that could be a little bit messy. I mean, queen e7 should be like really fine there. Taking this is also doable. Yeah, I think we just eliminate his bishop. It's like the strongest piece if you like really think about it. And now I could just play queen e7, try to occupy the open file. But we could also potentially set up the batter, which I think is pretty annoying for him, especially when they have committed to f4 push. So yeah, now could start with rook e2. Yeah, I think I really like that. Queen d6, there is f4. So maybe just start with this. And now on queen d3, I think we have queen d6 intermediate move. Then f4, we bring the other rook. So I think that's the precise way of doing this. So threatening mate in 1, he cannot take the rook. Then we can bring the other one to the party. And now I have a threat of queen d5, I believe. Threatening mate on g2. Expecting him to play like rook a e1. Rook f2 I think should be a mistake. Feels like the king is a little bit exposed now. Like simple idea could be takes and g5. And then we might be simply winning the f4 pawn. Because taking is definitely way too weak. I think we might actually end up going for it. I'm like considering queen e6 as well, just trying to keep the file, but I don't think it's like good enough. So just gonna be taking, and then g5 seems pretty straightforward. Cannot take because the queen comes over. And simply taking this, just f3, opening up these pieces. I don't really care about hanging a7 pawn, I mean just take. Big fan of your chessable courses. Hey, thank you for that, Mehdi. Appreciate it. Always nice to hear. Which one did you get? I bet it was the London. So, yeah. Now, perhaps safest for opponent would be to just go rook e1, exchange a pair of rooks, but that's, you know, allowing me to grab a pawn. Okay, he goes there, but it's No good, as I already pointed out. Just GF and flat is to go F3 open up line. So Queen F3 kind of forced. And then on Queen F3, I could even go like G5, you know, just protecting that pawn. Could also start Bishop B6, idea to go Bishop D4. If I want that, if we want such things. Like Bishop B6, the thing is, can he go Bishop F4? Isn't there like Bishop D4? It's probably not working yet, which is a little bit sad. So we'll start with G5. Now, can he do Rook A6? I mean, he can, but I don't think this should be strong. But maybe it is. Maybe I kind of underestimated that idea a little bit. So Queen E6, Rook C6 is the main question here. Can I just go Queen B3, Rook C7, Queen C2? He doesn't have a way to protect the bishop, so that might actually be completely winning. It's definitely a bit risky what I'm doing, but it looks good. I see no counterplay. So he has this. I'm losing the bishop, but I'm infiltrating. I'm gonna literally be a queen walking in his backyard, and he has no counterplay against that. Look at this. This is coming, and his king is really weak. Now I think he's in trouble. Like only, okay, now this is super important. Cutting both Queen E3, King D1, and he doesn't have Queen E2 because Rook takes. So this should be winning now. We take this and Rook is infiltrating with checkmating attack. So I think, you know, I was kind of relying on this. Like if there was not this move, he would have gotten a lot of counterplay, but usually this happens when you play solid moves that are, you know, logical and according to the basic common sense rules of chess. Usually you'll get rewarded. Like when you have good position, you see these things that you're gonna be lucky more often. So I was a little bit lucky with this because I didn't see it in advance. But usually you'll have these kind of opportunities yourself if you play solid strategical chess. That's the main point that I'm trying to make. This is literally a resignable position. Like Queen E2 would be the best move, but just take Queen E4 maybe. Yeah, Queen E4, King F2, King D3. So he just plays this, but pick up the bishop, Rook E1. There's no way to stop that. It is literally gonna be a checkmate very soon. Not to mention, we win the queen. Yeah, so Queen F2, just give up the check. Then we have Rook E2, very precise. Making sure we pin the queen, winning it, just avoiding the check. And yeah, opponent simply resigns. Now, I'm wondering, how precise do you guys think this game was? I'm gonna say it was like a 92. We're doing guess the eval now. Oh, it was actually a 94. Alright. We take these. I even had a brilliant move. We take these. We just invented a new series, guys, for YouTube. Guess the eval. Or, no. Wait, this might actually be smart. Like, guess the percentage that you get. This might be, you know, additional to like the guess the ELO series. Like, guess the percentage. It's like insanely tough in like low rated games, but this game felt like quite precise. We got a 94 and we got a brilliant move. Look at this. How nice. Knight c5. So the main point was dc5, bishop h2. Guess the brilliant move? I mean, that's not that tough to do. Like usually, you know, for me, it's easy. It's in the game, you don't have that many brilliant moves. So it's easy to guess knight c5 was a brilliant one. And okay, Rook e2 was apparently a blunder. I should have started queen d6, f4, c5, just to destabilize his center. But Rook e2 felt like really natural to me. It's true that we didn't end up making much use of it, especially if he goes Rook a e1, it felt like. But okay, Rook e1, tried everything when f4, what am I saying? I think the way I played it was like pretty solid overall. It's just that... Okay, apparently in this position, bishop b6 was stronger. Yeah, so we should have gone for this. It's just that I missed the fact that queen e6 now having queen e1 ideas. And queen b3. So apparently this was strongest according to the engine to play. g5 was still fine. It's just that now queen e6 kind of only moved to keep advantage. And after rook c6, queen b3 is just lost for white. Just completely winning after queen c2. Pretty nice. Alright, pretty good. Pretty good. Definitely games went pretty well so far. Any recommendation against Queen's Gambit as black? I would recommend the Slav defense if you are playing the London as white. So we're doing a series on YouTube called Reversed London Rating Climb. So you'll have a look on that. I think it's easiest if you're like, let's say, below 2200 and you're playing mainly online. If you're like an over-the-board player, then my advice may be different. So just let me know.